Previously on Fareed Responds.
Now, on the one on the right side, you see when the revelation came to the Messenger of Allah, one could hear what sounded like the drone of bees before his face. And to me, this sounds like his teeth were jittering. If you do this fast enough in a seizure, it'll sound like a very... That's probably what it is, but it's bizarre on its own.
We don't find anything in the report mentioning anything about teeth or the jittering of the teeth, and yet he interprets the report that has nothing to do with that. The report itself is supposed to suggest that this is a miraculous event. Umar is saying, whenever a revelation occurs, we can hear a sound coming from him, and it sounds like bees. So Gondal is turning that into a symptom for epilepsy.
But I will bring him up in the relevant parts to refute him. There are some really good ones where he says that there exists no narration for the clattering teeth, and then I find 10 in the hadith that mention that. So I'm like, okay.
He's actually going to bring 10 hadiths to prove his point. 10, that's quite a large number. Are we going to be able to deal with that? Remember, at the moment, that's just a claim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a new video. Let's go through the evidence. Fire intro.
So now that they've made fun of me for clattering teeth, who they should be making fun of is their own prophet. In Itqan, al-Quran, Suyuti's book, from Ibn Sa'd, from Aisha, who said that when the revelation descended upon the prophet, his head would twitch, start spinning, his color of his face would go pale or dust-colored, and his teeth would start clattering, and sweat flowed from his head like beads of pearls. His transmitters are reliable. This is an explicit admission where it says that his teeth were clattering, yet I'm the one who's the liar. Now let's go to the next slide.
All right, so first things first. This report is from a book called Al-Tabaqat Ibn Sa'd. It is narrated by Muhammed bin Umar al-Waqidi, who is accused of lying by multiple classical scholars, who narrates it from Abdul Hamid bin Imran, who is an unknown narrator, who narrates it from Imran, who is reliable, but he's just simply not an eyewitness to the event. So basically we have three issues with this report that Dr. Jalaluddin is trying to claim is authentic. But didn't Dr. Jalaluddin just say that all the narrators are reliable? Well, that's because Dr. Jalaluddin doesn't know how to read footnotes. When the editor says the narrators are reliable, he's referring to the hadith of Ubadah ibn Samit. And the last time I checked, Ubadah and Aisha aren't the same person. Now, this is a type of sloppiness that we kind of should be getting used to, because, I mean, it's Dr. Jalaluddin. But hey, we still have 9 more hadiths to go. Hadith number 2.
This is the same book, but a different... now, on the left side, you see that the Urdu scholar has also translated this, and I'm going to read that out to you.
So hadith number 2 is actually hadith number 1. Just because the book is Urdu doesn't mean that it's the second hadith. Doctor, do you believe that if a hadith is translated into a different language, then counts as 2 hadiths? Hadith number 2.
It just keeps getting worse for this guy. We have Musnad Aisha, this is written by another scholar as well. We're going to ignore the first one. We're going to go to the second one from Aisha, who said the revelation descended upon the prophet. His head would start twitch spinning, his face would go pale or colored, and his teeth would start clattering.
Oh, you guys remember the report by Ibn Sa'd? Well, this is the exact same report, same narrators. So far, Dr. Jalaluddin just brought 1 hadith. Hadith number 2.
We go to a Shia reference mostly. It's going to be the next slide. Thank you so much for the kind comment. We have Asbabul Nuzul by Wahidi. Here, I've just zoomed it in on the right side. And it says, the prophet came in with his jawbones trembling. Revelation came to me. He shivered. This is the one we've been mentioning from before. But again, we have more evidence of his jawbone trembling, not just his beard this time.
There are major issues with this one. The first is that Hafs bin Sa'id is unknown in status. Also, his mother is unknown. And perhaps the clearest problem is that the event mentioned in this hadith occurs in Medina, and the verses mentioned in this hadith were actually revealed in Mecca. So the report pretty much conflicts the well-established chronology of events. By the way, there's nothing here about teeth chattering, it's about jaw trembling. There is a difference, by the way. Hadith number 2.
We have another one from Tafsir al-Qurtubi. Next one we went over about the beard trembling, which alludes to that as well.
Once again, Dr. Jalaluddin repeats the same hadith as the previous one. And guess what? That's it. Those are the 10 hadiths that he claimed to have found. So the village idiot from Mortardsville claimed that he found 10 hadiths about teeth chattering. He provides one fabricated report, repeats it twice, once in Urdu, then he brings another baseless hadith about beard shaking or jaw trembling. And then he repeats it again from another secondary source. So what he really did find was one hadith. And he just repeated it 3 times. So 1x3 equals 10.
This is the X3.
Oh, by the way, it actually gets worse. You know the part about the hadith of the bees and the sounds of the bees? Well, it seems like Dr. Jalaluddin isn't quite sure how to interpret that, and he's provided multiple explanations for that hadith.
And now we come to buzzing of the bees. Right, so this is the hadith which goes about when the revelation came to Muhammad, one could hear what sounded like the drone of bees before his face. So what was creating that sound? There's 2 options here, okay? A, it could be the clattering of his teeth, as we now know that his teeth did in fact clatter, which is just embarrassing. I mean, yeah, when revelation comes to me, my teeth start clattering. Humming is a rare automatism occurring in partial seizures that has received little attention, right? So this is one speculative answer that could explain what that sound was. Another thing is that bruxism or teeth grinding. Now, if we go to the next, what I at least try to do is I don't talk out of my ass.
Yeah, I don't even need to respond to this. I'm just gonna play some audio clips.
What I at least try to do is I don't talk out of my ass.
By the way, you know, if I was him, if I was in his position, I'd actually say, hey, I don't accept this hadith. It sounds like a supernatural event. It's something that conflicts with reality, so I'm just going to reject it. But do you know why he insists that this is evidence for a seizure or epilepsy? It's because he's invested too much time into this. He's put in over 4 years into building these arguments, and he just doesn't want to take the L. And that's why, Doctor, for the sake of your friggin' credibility, I'd take a step back and go back to the drawing board. I'm off. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, this doesn't sound like a seizure to me.
Yeah, but it's very interesting, like when he say that.
I don't think we should really speculate on this too, just for the sake of credibility.